Welcome, guys. How you doing? I should say my normal thing because it's been so long since I did a live stream by myself. I'm so not used to it. So, welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic 90s nerds to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where, we talk about everything from Nickelodeon slime to horror movie slashers, but plenty of stuff in between. Hopefully, you guys like this blue aura I have going. It's kind of like snowy feeling. So, I was like, I'm going to put my lights, my overhead lights, to be bluish. And that is why there is this weird hue around me. But hopefully you guys are enjoying it. All right, welcome. We've got Cameron. Hey, Cameron, how you doing? He says hello, and I'm saying hello back. This is cool. This is the first time I'm using StreamYard, and I really like it, I gotta say. So Jamie is also joining us in the chat from Montana. Greetings. And then we've got Kits also in the chat. We've got Macabre Goblin in the chat, and Macabre Goblin likes the blue hue. It's good to know. Thank you so much. Kelly's here. Hey, Kelly. Happy Thursday. And we've got Scary and TK. I can't even freaking speak. Don't even ask me to say things that I can't say. I wanted to let you guys know, of course, you know what we're here today for. We're here to discuss Slumber Party by Christopher Pike. There's a lot of stuff that we can go into about this, but before we jump in, because the name of the book is Slumber Party, I thought, why not be thematic? And this is all due to my good friend Dana, so thank you, Dana, for the idea. She said she was going to wear pajamas to the discussion, and so I said I must also wear pajamas. So I contemplated going out and getting like real pajamas, like matching pajamas, like, what are they, like the ones with the plaid with like little button ups and like the matching pants. But I was like, that isn't really accurate to me and how I would, one, sleep normally. I would not wear those types of pajamas because I don't own any, and two, I wouldn't really go to a slumber party like that. I mean, in fact, I've never gone to a slumber party with a thematic outfit like that was matching. I just wore stuff like a t-shirt, like a big t-shirt, and just random pajama pants. So I'm going to show you guys my pajamas, because yes, I am in pajamas. It's just maybe not what you guys recognize as pajamas, but I'm wearing a huge shirt. And of course, because my channel is 90s themed and horror themed, I'm wearing an awesome 90s shirt gifted to me by my wonderful friend Heidi. So Heidi, thank you so much if you're watching. I appreciate you. Glad you're feeling better from COVID. I'm also wearing some long johns, and thematic socks, which are Rugrats socks. It's hard to get my foot up. Okay, Rugrats socks. And also, I'm wearing slippers. So I went all out with my thematic PJs, and the slippers, just so you guys know, are super cute. So here, hopefully, here's a sloth. So he's upside down. Oh, hello. There he is. So he's a sloth hanging out, and the other slipper says, just chillin'. So, yes, I'm in actual pajamas. Katie likes the pajamas. They're perfect. Thank you. They're huge, but in terms of like my shirt and stuff. But yes, I thought this would be super thematic in more than one way, so I just had to do that. Jamie says, in fact, I'll show the comment here because I could do that now. I'm actually wearing a Tea Turtle t-shirt with Fight Like a Girl and gray leggings and a kitty cat trendy slippers. Very comfy. That is perfectly appropriate attire for flipping this chat, Jamie. So very well done. Kelly likes the nostalgia that this all kind of brings up. I do too. I'm really happy about it. And my stream quality, because I'm checking it out, it looks freaking good, and I'm very excited. I got a new webcam, and I've got a new little ring light, so everything's new and awesome, and I'm very excited. Melissa says she likes my pajamas. Thank you so much, Melissa. Great to see you. Glad you're here. Thank you all who are tuning in right now. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you're not watching live, but you're catching this after the fact, you know I still appreciate you too very much, no matter when you watch this stream. I really, really do appreciate it greatly. All right, so let's get into a little bit. We're not going to dive in deep. We're going to wait a few more minutes for people to jump in, because I know sometimes these live streams take a little while for people to be notified and stuff. So before we jump really, really into it, we'll just kind of lightly get into some stuff here before too long passes. All right, so I do want to say, just a warning, that we are going to talk about spoilers, because this is a book club meeting. And I want to say thank you to all of you who read the book for my book club, the Midnight Book Society. So that is also nostalgic. If you guys like Are You for the Dark, you will know that that, of course, is a reference to that show. And, of course, they were the Midnight Society. We are the Midnight Book Society. So it's a little play and reference on the Are You for the Dark show. And I just thought that would be really cool. So appreciate all of you who actually joined in, not only joined in and read it, but also who voted for this book in the first place. Thank you so very much. And just so you guys know, I made a fancy banner that says spoilers will be discussed, because yes, it will be. So I went all out with like my little plan. I wanted to see what this program could do. So I'm very happy with it so far. All right. So Slumber Party, essentially the main premise is, and I know most of us have read it if you're here watching this chat, but just in case some of you are joining and have not by chance read the book, like I said, there will be spoilers, so watch out if you haven't read it. But the main premise is basically these girls who've been friends since they were kids. They're now in high school and they're going on a ski trip, like a weekend hangout at one of the girls' houses. And kind of gets revealed in the very beginning. In fact, it's the very opening page that there was a big accident that happened back when they were kids. And this event really physically scarred one of the friends and mentally scarred the rest of the friends, but they all show it in different ways. The one thing I've heard time and time again about this book is that the friends that we're talking about and that we're following in the book are not realistic. Like the friendships themselves aren't realistic. These girls are so mean. Specifically, two of the girls are mean. Now, the two girls that are mean, the characters' names are Rachel and Flippin' Mindy. Her name's just Mindy, not Flippin' Mindy, but they're really mean. They are just the quintessential mean girl. When you think of what that would be, that's them. Especially Rachel. You know, she's up for homecoming court and she just has all these snide, flippant remarks and comments that she just throws out to people who are supposed to be her friends. And so the friends, like the nicer friends, the nicer characters, Laura and Dana, they just kind of take it. And I just don't understand why. Exactly, Cameron. Flippin' Mindy. What the hell? Flippin' Mindy. I don't understand why. They're both so mean. As Kelly says here, such bratty teenagers. Yes. And in a way, though, isn't that kind of accurate? I mean, I was not a cool teenager. I know some of you probably can't imagine me being mean, but as a preteen, I feel like you can't really take anything a preteen says seriously. I know, I mean, back in the day, just I can remember, your personality's not formed completely. You're trying to figure out how to be. So in a way, these teenagers' behaviors, they're kind of realistic. But in the other way, why wouldn't they just not be friends if they're all this mean to each other? However, my big assumption, or I guess theory, more than assumption. My big theory is that they're all friends because they had this shared experience that I referenced, this really horrific event where basically one of the girls got burned and one of the other girls, who's not at this slumber party, she was apparently killed. But we'll get into more of that because there's more that develops from that, as you guys know if you read the book. So yeah, and this is a good comment. We all went to school with girls like that. Yes, it's true. Oh my god, I can think of some mean people from school. They were just so mean to me. Brutal. I mean, heck, my own cousin was mean to me. She would pinch me and pull my hair and stuff. The funny thing is, so the two main characters that are nice, because there's technically like 4 or 5 main characters, I guess 6 if you count Celeste, but there's Laura and Dana, Mindy and Rachel. I kind of separated them from mean and nice, and then also just like strange. So Nell would be the strange one, and then you got Celeste, who's also strange. So it's like mean, nice, strange. The nicer characters, Laura and Dana, the funny thing is about their names is I have 2 cousins, Laura and Dana, and they're sisters. So it just reminded me like those are the 2 nice characters, and that's the names of my cousins, and they happen to be related. So I thought that was kind of fun. And it made it easy to remember which characters were supposed to be the nice ones, since I have known Laura and Dana my whole life, and they are very nice. So it was easy to associate those names with niceness and remember it that way. Jamie says, I can remember when I was a preteen going to slumber parties, having slumber parties for my birthday, Girl Scouts, etc. I was not like the cool kids, and Mindy and Rachel suck. Yes, they do. And I had tons of slumber parties. In fact, it was one of the highlights of growing up. My mom and dad, our house was like the cool house. So we had like a pool table. And so all my friends wanted to come over and play pool. And we would stay up till like 4 a.m. And my mom would come in and be like, you gotta go to sleep. But no one would really go to sleep. We would just pretend to lay down and like pretend to sleep. So slumber parties are amazing. Now, I will say, so the vibe in this book doesn't scream slumber party to me. In fact, it doesn't even feel like they're having like a traditional slumber party. I don't get that vibe at all. The vibes that do come across though are snowy vibes, hence the blue hue, because I feel like more in the book what you get more of is that snowy cold feeling. I do feel like this is a very good and representative cold book. Like when you're reading it you could feel the chill. And in fact, I've got an example of an interesting passage that I'm going to reference that I experienced in the cold, just like the character described, and I was like, oh my god, this was not made up. This is a real occurrence in cold, and we'll get there in a second. But I do want to start to get some of you guys' opinions on the book. What kind of star ratings would you give it? What did you think about it? Let's start throwing out like what you guys think in here, because it's not all about me and my opinions. It's supposed to be a club to where we all share our opinions. Ashley says, yeah, it's more like a ski weekend versus a slumber party. Yeah, it's just funny that the name is Slumber Party and that is just not so prominent. And the funny thing is, even more prominent is like the boy drama. But actually, like I kind of like that only because it screams 90s nostalgia. It screams corny, cheesy, old school YA. And so to me, I kind of thought that was just in line with what I was expecting. However, what wasn't in line with what I was expecting to love this book a lot more, because my first Christopher Pike read was Monster, and I was blown away by that read. I know my friend Katie is here in the chat. She also loved Monster. Katie, I believe you gave it a 5 stars, right? Monster. I think I did too. I thought Monster was going to be my favorite YA read of 2021. It almost was, but Silent Night by R.L. Stine, it just like kind of beat Monster, but barely, because both are really amazing and good, and I do recommend both of those books. And I actually want to kind of reference some other reviews. I think it's kind of interesting. I know people here are shouting out their ratings. Here we have a 2 out of 5. And also another 2.5 stars out of 5. And we've got Kelly with a 2 out of 5. Yes, Kelly, I actually had notes because I'm friends with you on Goodreads, so I knew yours was a 2 out of 5. Also, my friend Alex, the Bookubus, read this, and it was 3 stars for her, which is kind of generous. Also, another generous rating. I mean, I would say, I'm saying generous like 3 is such a great rating, but Melissa gave it a 3 out of 5. I read this when I was actually traveling, and I was in flipping the New England area. And so it was really cold, and this was so appropriate and thematic, and it just felt really good. So while I was reading it, I really felt like really into the story, and it just was matching what I was doing. And so I think that kind of enhanced my enjoyment a little bit, if that makes sense. And so when I initially finished reading it, I thought I could give it a 3.5, maybe even 4. But now that I've sat with my thoughts a little bit, I do think the rating for me is closer to 3. It's so hard. I struggle with rating all the time. I know other people have said that before. It's so difficult to rate books sometimes. It's like I didn't have a bad time with Slumber Party, but of course, it's not my favorite YA read, but it's also not my least favorite either. So, I don't know. I feel like 3 is a good general vicinity, maybe even 3.5, rounded down to 3. That wouldn't be so bad. We've got here in the chat saying, love Silent Night. Yes, Riva is such a bitch. Talking about Mean Girls, but she's the kind of Mean Girl character that you just somehow love. Like, I don't love how mean she is, but like you just love like the nastiness, and you're like, oh my god, she's got to get hers. And then there's times though when her underlayers show, where she shows a little bit more heart. So Riva's not all meanness, and I kind of like that she's more than what she seems. And so I can't wait to read more in that series, because I know there's more than one Silent Night book. I know Cameron's a big fan of Silent Night, and he's in the chat right now. Cameron says, it really is such a cold feeling book. I thought it was a great one to read in the winter months. 3 stars from Cameron. Actually, Cameron, if you don't mind, I have your review screen captured, and I was going to show it because I've got like little pictures and stuff, but if you don't want me to, I won't. But yes, I actually have your review, literally a picture of it. And I've also got my friend Katie's review too, who's in the chat with us as well. If you guys are okay with it, I'll share it. If not, that's cool. I won't share it. Cameron says, I like Christopher Pike a lot, but this was one of his first books. Actually, it was his first book, apparently, at least according to the research I did. It sticks pretty close to the point horror formula, Cameron says, which is a lot different from his usual weird and emotional horror. That is such a great summary, Cameron, and essentially that's what you said in your review, I believe, because I just looked at it today. And that is so accurate. point horror, all the books I've read, they are in the same vein as Slumber Party. So all point horror, it's a little corny, but if you go in knowing that it's not going to knock your socks off really, in terms of, you might even guess what's going to happen. And that's kind of what happened with me with Slumber Party. I was starting to kind of see where things were going, you know? And so that is why it's like, I wasn't too bothered because I have read point books before. And so to me, it's like, I'm not that bothered by this. And I've also read point horror books with the corny romance. Like that is all normal to me. However, when you compare it to something like Christopher Pike's book Monster, and you know how great and unique that is. In fact, like Cameron said, it's weird and emotional horror. That is exactly what I would describe Monster like. That book is so weird, but also very creative and unique. So it's just two different styles of books, Slumber Party and Monster, written by the same author. But also, I think part of it is, as Cameron referenced, is that Slumber Party was basically Pike's first book that he wrote, or one of his first few that he wrote. And so to me, like, that really shows in a way, because you could just see the difference in the plot and stuff compared when you compare Slumber Party and Monster, at least in my opinion. So yes, I've got lots of comments coming in here. I don't want to forget anybody here. Oh, here we go. Jamie says, this is a great comment here. Very Lifetime movie like. I gave it 4 stars just for nostalgia and cheese factor. That is a great and astute observation, Jamie. Lifetime movie, yes, and I think you said that in the Discord channel. Very accurate there, and I love the cheese factor. And when you're going in just not expecting to read like some award-winning book, then I think you're going to be like, okay, this is doable, this is fun. Kind of just take it for what it is, if that makes sense. But I have read point books too that I've liked better, I will say. And I'm sure I will read more in the future that I will like more. Cameron says I could show the review. And then I can show Katie's too. Yay, good. I'm going to show their review really quick. I've got this cute little nifty like thing where I've designed these slides and stuff. I'm pretty happy about this. So I'm going to show it, I guess, picture in picture. Oh, cool. News layout. How cool is this? So here's Katie's, and we're going to put it full screen now. She says, I was so excited to read Slumber Party by Christopher Pike for Kelsi's January picks for the Midnight Book Society. I've had this in my TBR pile for a while, and after reading Monster, I had high expectations for another Christopher Pike book. Same with me, Katie, because we both read Monster before we read Slumber Party. Katie says, however, I was so underwhelmed with this one. I know it's a YA horror, but man, it was a snooze fest and way too much girl drama for my liking. I do agree with that a little bit for sure. I enjoyed the mystery storyline, and there was no lack of characters / suspects, which added some much needed spice. I also felt the house's location and overall stranded feeling, added an additional layer of horror that I really enjoyed. Just too much high school fluff. Overall rating 3 stars. That is so well thought out, Katie. I love that review. And I really am kind of on the same lines as you. Like I said, when I first initially finished it, I thought, yeah, 3.5 to rounded up to 4. But I do think it's more of a 3.5 rounded down to 3 for me when I really sit and think about it, because I did guess what could happen. And also some of the criticisms that you just listed, I would have to agree with, especially the little bit of drama with the girl stuff. Like, in a way I like it and it's cheesy, but in another way, like, just how mean and catty they were was kind of grating, but it was also fun at the same time. So it's like, can you like something and dislike it at the same time? I think so. So it's almost like a criticism and a praise at the same time, somehow, some way. All right, so that was Katie's review, and now let's go on to Cameron's review, which is also just as thoughtful and very, very well written, just like Katie's was. All right, so we're going to show Cameron's now. He rated it 3 stars. Actually, he rated it 2.5. He rounded it up for Goodreads here. Slumber Party was another reread for me, as I am starting all the way at the beginning and reading / rereading Pike's work. That's the plan, at least. This still isn't my favorite Pike book, nor is it my favorite point horror, but it was a fun read overall, and I do agree with you there, Cameron. Cameron goes on to say, it does lag a little bit in the middle. I also agree with that. And he says it is quite predictable, as most point horror books are, but it hit a lot of my favorite 80s and 90s YA horror beats. Boy drama? Check. Totally mean, unlikable characters? Check. Dark secrets? Big check. The only thing it was missing was a murder or two. That was the main drawback here. That is a good point there, Cameron. Very good point. We didn't get a lot of blood that we saw up front and, close up. There were some passages that are dark, and I actually have some marked off that I can read to you guys, but you're right. We didn't get a murder like happening right there on the page. Cameron goes on to say, it was interesting to see how Pike's writing grew from the beginning of his career to books like The Midnight Club, though. He went from a mean-spirited book like Slumber Party to something far more sympathetic and heartfelt. Maybe that's why he only wrote 2 books for Point. He just didn't fit into the write-for-hire canon of that series. He had much better things to offer than this, so if you're new to Pike, don't start here. This review is so well done. It says everything. It honestly says everything. Cameron, so well said. Really, honestly. That is an awesome review. I also have Grady Hendrix's review, which is kind of along the same lines, but it's short and with his signature kind of snarky humor as well, which I'll show that in a second. But let's go back to the comments and see what other people are saying. And Cameron's even reiterating kind of what he said in his review right now in the comments. He's saying that I love point horror. Pike was just not right for that formula. And you could tell in Slumber Party that he wanted to get weird with it, but wasn't allowed. And yes, let's jump off of that, Cameron, real quick. And let's talk about the getting weird part. Because on page, where are you? Where are you, little page? Because I thought it was going to go into a weird direction, Cameron, like you referenced. So after having read Monster, which is weird and has like a supernatural flair, I thought this book was going to wind up going in the same direction. I thought maybe it would start in the, basic thriller area and then like verge or kind of take a turn. But it did not. So the page that made me question things, it was I think this is Laura talking. I told you, fire! It's coming from somewhere, she quieted. Or from someone. Percy, have you ever read about pyrokinetics? SHC? And then Percy, by the way, I don't know how he just happens to know what this is off like the top of his head. Like as a teenager, I mean, I was into weird shit, like in terms of horror and movies, and I was pretty smart. I don't know if I would just know if someone said SHC, if I would know that that meant spontaneous human combustion off the top of my head. Apparently, Percy is super knowledgeable and super well-rounded of a teenager, I should point out, and he says, spontaneous human combustion? In the National Enquirer, alongside articles on people who've been taken abroad by alien spacecraft from the Andromeda galaxy and had their tonsils removed. And then Laura says, you don't believe in things like that? He says, I'm skeptical, very skeptical. Are you saying that Dana suddenly decided to cook herself? And then Laura says, no, I'm suggesting that maybe, just as a possibility, someone burned her with their mind. And then Percy says, like in that movie, Carrie? And she says, sort of. I love that. So right there, I was like, it's going somewhere. Like, they're going to go with it. Pike's going to go there. But no, he didn't go there. It was a teaser. I wish he would have gone there, though. Yeah, Katie. SHC. Yes. I mean, I wouldn't have known. I mean, I would not have known. Kelly says, and this also, I also thought this too. This is a great point, Kelly. When they came across that snowman randomly gone, I thought maybe it was going to get supernatural of some sort. Totally agree with you there. And Laura is quite the detective, the character Laura. She sees this burnt snow. She's all suspicious right off the bat with this snowman. She's like, something's going on. Something's going on right away. So I don't know what kind of movie she was watching, but she was already suspicious of her friends or of the situation because Laura right away was looking for things that were amiss and she was finding things that were not fitting together or right. All right, so Cameron says, I was hoping for a fire starter twist. Haha. That's great. All right, lots of good comments here, guys. This is a book-related question more than just a Slumber Party-related question. Barry asks, do you think it's weird to listen to the audiobook while you read the book. Not at all, Barry, because actually I've been doing that and it helps a lot sometimes to get through tough to read books. In fact, I'm reading a book right now for my personal private book club called Dead Mountain, and it's a nonfiction book about a real life incident about these mountain climbers in the 1950s in Russia who basically succumbed to the elements, but there were some weird factors surrounding the accident and no one really knows what quite happened. And so this guy, this author, in the 2000s, in the late 2000s, starts to investigate this really old mystery. And to me, there's a ton of Russian names. It's really confusing. It's kind of slower book. And so I got the audiobook and I also got a Kindle version and I've been listening and reading and it's helping so much. Also, this is kind of like a sneak preview, but I'm doing a Stephen King that is, read along with my friend Kat. We are reading Sting, the wrestler Sting, a King short story or book every month of 2022. And so that's our little project together. And we're inviting people like you guys, anybody who wants to participate, to join along. And we're going to reveal all of our picks for the whole year very soon. But here is a sneak preview. Our pick for February is Gerald's Game. And so I already started, which is kind of cheating because it's not February, as you guys know if you're watching live, it's January. And so I am already into the February pick, but I am also listening to that on audio and also reading it by Kindle. So no, Barry, I do not think that's weird at all. Sometimes it really helps to get through a book and it just makes things a little bit easier. But speaking of like old school YA books, there's a lot of audio versions of these that are almost like acted out books on YouTube for free. And those are a lot of fun sometimes, but they're also over the top sometimes. Like for instance, I listened to Funhouse by Diane Ho. I listened to that one on audio and it was just over the top and like just I don't know. It was too much. It was too much. Also, like the main character, they made her sound like super just spastic and paranoid and like I don't know. And then everyone was kind of patronizing her, being like, "Are you sure something's wrong? Are you sure you saw this?" And it just got really annoying. So the narration almost made that even more apparent, if that makes sense. So sometimes audiobooks can hurt, but a lot of times they help while you read and listen. I'm not too actually I haven't really started using audio for Gerald's Game yet, Kelly. Kelly says, I hated the weird music in the Gerald's Game audiobook. So I haven't really started using the audio yet. I just got it from my library like literally today. So I had been reading it on Kindle, but was hoping to, pair it up with the audio to make it go faster. Because right now it's like kind of drawn out a little bit. I will say that's like kind of a spoiler as well. But yeah, I'm struggling a little bit. I mean, it's entertaining. I like King's writing. I love his characterization, but it is dragging a tiny bit. I know a lot of people who are trying to do this, and this is in reference to Macabre Goblin. Their comment says, I'd love to read King along with you, but I'm trying to read his works in order of publication because my brain hates me. I understand that. Trust me, I understand. I'm like that about certain things too, having to do things in a certain order. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I appreciate you wanting to. And if we happen to talk about a book that you've already read, because you've already gotten into your project, then join us for the live stream. In fact, we're going to be discussing Misery, and I've got a little reminder slide about the date of Misery. That live stream is actually this weekend coming up on the 23rd of January. If you're watching this right now before that date, you can come with us if you've seen the movie, because we're going to be talking about the movie, and if you've read the book. So we're going to be talking about both, not just the book, but also the movie. All right. So let's keep looking at the comments here. Richard Thomas, if you're talking about me, thank you. But Richard Thomas says, you're a perfect fit for a top tier job at Barstool Sports. I don't think I would fit in there. I don't think I would fit in. I do like hockey, though. I'm not the most knowledgeable about it, though. I know they talk more than just sports, but I think a lot of what they do is sports related. Let's see what Cameron says here. I read an interview with R.L. Stine saying he was hired by Scholastic to write his first horror book called Blind Date for the Point series. Scholastic was having issues with, and I don't know, does it cut off? Okay, here's the rest. With an author and thought Stine could fill that author's place. Stine hinted that the author in question was Pike. I think he was frustrated having to write within Point's parameters, but That's just my theory. Haha. Yes, Cameron, that is a really interesting theory, and I think you could be right from like the things you explained just now. It would almost fit. So that's very interesting. And by the way, thank you. Cameron sold me Blind Date. So I have that book now and I can't wait to read it. So thank you, Cameron, for selling me Blind Date because I'm super pumped to have it in my collection now. Jamie agrees with Cameron. The fire start, if there was a fire starter twist, it would have been awesome. Yes, that would have been cool. All right. Thank you, everyone, again, who's tuning in live right now. I really appreciate all of you so much. Jamie's pointing out that Percy is a young 20-something-year-old, not a teenager per se. You're right, Jamie, I forgot. So maybe Percy, in the few years since he's been an actual adult, where he's graduated from teenager to young adult, maybe in those years he discovered what spontaneous human combustion was, and he just happened to know what it was off the top of his head, perhaps. Yes, maybe so. I just thought I wish it would have gone in that direction because that would have made it like a Pike book to me. And I'm acting like a Pike expert. Cameron in our chat is more of a Pike expert than me. I've only read Monster and this, so I don't have too much to compare it to. But I will say, even though Slumber Party was a little bit of a letdown only in comparison to Monster, it wasn't really a letdown in comparison to other Point books because I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was fun and decent in its own way. However, like when you compare it to Monster, you're just like, ugh. But this does not hinder me from wanting to read other Pike books, of course. I still very much want to read other Pike books. That is 100% sure. And so I will be digging into more Pike. In fact, I might have some on my book cart right here, which would mean that I want to get to it sooner rather than later. I'm sure it's somewhere. I don't want to like mess up the cart and make things fall over. Who knows what will happen if I flip and start to move one book, things might topple. We don't know. We don't want to chance it. So let's if you guys want to point out any passages or parts that you found interesting, I was going to read just a few of my little tabs that I have marked here. I already read you guys the thing about the fire, which I really wish it would have gone in that direction. And I was sold on it. I thought it was going to happen. They fooled me. Pike got me there. I was like, oh, it's going to go into his like signature direction, but nah. This was a very I liked this passage here. I felt like it kind of hinted at some darkness. So this says on page 113 of my this is my copy. There is a better copy, by the way, before I read this passage. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's a freaking snowman, an evil looking snowman guy. And that's the edition I wish I had. I just have this freaking cold edition where it's like, oh yeah, it's a house, bitch. Like, I wish I had the snowman, but all I have is this house on my book. This one's cool too. I'm still happy to have it, but man, the snowman edition, I'm jelly because I know a few people who have that edition. I'm like, I want it so bad. Cameron, I think you have a snowman edition. I think I saw in one of your Patreon videos, but yeah, that version's so cool. So here's a very nice passage that I kind of like that hints at some darkness to the story. The grandfather clock in the living room struck an ominous midnight. Time to take off our masks, Laura thought, and show who is behind Rachel's sensual lips, Celeste's haunting eyes, Nell's plastic features. Laura stared at her own face, which reflected like a lifeless shadow in the icy black window. That's how she would look when she was dead. I mean, that's how she would look when she was dead. Okay. I liked that part. I was like, that was really well done, well written. So I really liked that a lot. Yes, Cameron says he's got the evil snowman edition. Damn it. I'm glad that you have that one because that one's badass, I will say. And yes, good comment here. Yes, this is on my list to read. The Midnight Club by Christopher Pike is a really good book. Yes, I 100% want to read that one. I've heard great things about the Midnight Club. Yes, for sure. I'm on the same page as you. Here's a good little observation. Macabre Goblin, you were saying earlier that the girls were too catty towards each other. That didn't seem too weird to me because my friends and I were pretty awful to each other in high school, lol. But she's going to add another comment here. I don't remember being mean to any of my friends, really. I mean, I guess I was. I do have home videos when I was like 8 years old, and I was like kind of mean to my friend Kristen. And I know you guys are probably like, Kelsi being mean, how could that be? But I was pretty damn mean. I was mean. In these old like videos, I'm like, I watch them now and I say to myself, I was mean. But again, kids, you don't know who you are. Even Macabre Goblin, I'm sure like you guys were so close with each other. It was more of like just like kind of the way you interacted, almost like a joking way. And Macabre Goblin goes on to say, but what did bother me was how readily Laura volunteered her friend for another interaction with a guy who was implied to have assaulted her. It was hard to read how Dana felt, and Dana, I believe, was the friend who was involved with Cal, who was the guy who she said like was all over her. It's hard to read it because Dana also sounds like she didn't mind it. So it's almost like I read it like Dana didn't really mind. In fact, the way they were joking about it before Laura got Cal invited back to the house was almost like Dana gave her blessing, like almost like she didn't mind that. I have to go back and actually read that passage, but I know what you're referring to. And I could understand how it would bother you, but I do just think it was implied that Dana was saying that she didn't mind to Laura herself before she invited Cal back over or over for the first time. They had already interacted with the Cal guy, and then he was going to go back to their house after, when they had a party. So yeah, I I just read it that way, but I could be wrong. I could see how it could bother people. All right, so let's go into some more quotes here real quick, if you guys don't mind. Bob Apples is here, and he's reading Cradle Lake by Ronald Mulfey. I never know if I say his name right. I've, yes, heard of the author. I just never know if I'm pronouncing any author's name right because I'm bad at pronunciation, just so you guys know and are warned. That is just so me. So that's interesting. I hope you're enjoying that book. All right, so here we go. So yeah, I thought this was so stupid. Okay, but I like how he went here. This is just a conversation again between Laura and Percy. Percy says, I think that you have a vivid imagination, but I don't suppose that's what you want to hear. Even from an occult point of view, you're standing on, forgive the pun, thin ice. You're conveniently mixing pyrokinetics and spontaneous human combustion. They're a separated phenomenon. Again, Percy coming off like he's some occult expert. He's some like wild expert on these weird things. And I just found that to be hilarious and fun. Now, I will say, like, it's hard to put myself in like a young 20-year-old's like shoes, I suppose, or even like a late teenage person's shoes, but I just don't remember knowing about things like that. I mean, of course, I knew about the occult in like a non-specific way, but I don't know if I would have known about these specific terms and stuff. And especially back, when this was written in the 80s, like this character just knows about this shit. I mean, I guess it was more talked about, and I guess Carrie was popular, so maybe Carrie brought some of at least the fire stuff to the forefront. But in terms of like the other stuff, like, and how he's just like, yeah, a cult, like he's just talking about it like whatevs. I mean, I don't know. I just thought that part was kind of funny, and I did smirk at that part. Oh, and okay, so the makeout scene, I was a little appalled. Like here they're trying to investigate stuff. I believe at this point her friend Mindy has already been burned. And so, I don't know. I just found this like, why is she kissing him here? But again, as Cameron kind of referenced earlier in this stream and in his review on Goodreads, he said like the boy drama sometimes are what these point horror books are all about, or at least have like a big flair in these books or these types of boy situations. Here is this example. He kissed her. His nose was cold, his lips warm. She felt good in his arms, as if she wanted to stay there a long, long time. Hadn't a poet said that talk of death was the most potent aphrodisiac? She had never done it before, had always thought girls who did it on the spur of the moment without protection were fools. Yet she suddenly found herself wishing that it was a warm summer night with thick beds of grass behind the trees. He slipped his arms inside her coat at the back, picking her up slightly. His mouth tasted like carrot cake. She loved carrot cake. She leaned into him at the waist. He slipped and landed on his back. She went along for the ride, bursting into giggles. The part about carrot cake got me. Like, he tasted like carrot cake. She loved carrot cake. I don't know. I definitely laughed out loud, and I was reading this on a plane. I believe, yeah, this page I was on the plane. Yes, and I laughed. I was like, this is so ridiculous and corny and cheesy. But as some people said, that is a highlight in some ways. And like, I love cheesy like 80s movies and stuff. So like 90s, 80s cheese, I kind of honestly enjoy. So the same goes for books and movies. I kind of like that. But yes, they did eat carrot cake. That is why he tasted like carrot cake, because there was carrot cake at the party and he ate some. So she's literally just tasting old food in his mouth, which, if you said it that way, is pretty gross. But I guess the way she said it was kind of like romanticized and stuff. So, oh gosh. That part really got, and Katie said that part got her too. Yes, it was so ridiculous. I literally was like, this is absurd. Ridiculous is one of my favorite words. If you guys are new viewers of mine, I say it a lot. I apologize in advance because it's one of the words I say the very most. That, and I'm so pumped for this, or I'm so excited about that. That's some of my like go-to phrases. Just in case you aren't familiar, I'm just giving you that warning. Those are the things I kind of repeat quite a bit. All right. This one's a little bit of creepiness here in this passage I'm about to read you guys, and there's really not many things I marked in this book, but I like this one. And this is really the only kind of darker imagery and bloody imagery that we get almost in the whole book. So Lara crept into the black hall, wondering if the pyro murderer had burned out the lights. Of course, she's imagining the worst in her head. That's what's happening in this package. She's sneaking around, wondering what's going on. Of course, they probably had a multitude of wicked weapons. She took a step forward, maybe a cold steel knife in her spine, a stainless razor across the soft flesh of her throat. She steadied herself against the invisible wall. She knew she'd feel the blood spurting, warm and sticky. No one died immediately. And then basically, so that's barely anything. But warm and sticky blood. We don't get a lot of references to blood. We do get like some burn scenes in the beginning when we get her dreaming about the past, about that situation with Nicole/Celeste. And so I did think the reveal was interesting. I liked that little change up. However, as I told you guys, I didn't outrightly say what I guessed, but I guessed that Celeste was the girl who died, but she wasn't dead. And so, yes, this is major spoilers here. I've been running this the whole time because I don't want people coming late expecting not to get the book spoiled, because we're talking now super major spoilers, guys. I'm pointing to the little banner I have going across there. This is major stuff here. So I'm so sorry if you're not expecting this, but I've given ample warning. I just want you guys to know I'm sorry. I tried to warn you. To warn you. I can't speak. All right, there's one more thing I have highlighted. Oh, yes. Okay, so I told you guys that this was a great winter read. And so I read this passage before I went up to New England, literally on the plane ride to New Hampshire, because I went to this whole New England area for my birthday week as I was reading this, as I referenced before. So I read this on the plane ride going up north. I live in New Orleans. That's where I'm from, and that's where I'm streaming from right now. I am not really used to cold weather very much. I mean, just yesterday here, it was like mid 60s. At one point, I think it might have even gotten into the 70s at one point of the day. But it was actually pretty comfortable yesterday. But today, we've gotten a cool front, and it's pretty much as cold as it really gets around here. 30s and 40s. We don't really get super cold temperatures here. So going up there, I was all excited, like, how am I going to fare in the colder weather? Because there were reports of temperatures dipping as low as 0 degrees and feeling like, I don't know, I think they were projecting that it was going to feel like minus 15. It only ended up feeling like minus 9 to me, but I have no experience with cold. So as I read this, I have no experience on what is real and what is not in terms of cold, and what is the real experience with people who live in cold and, just interacting with the cold outside. So this says, and this is Laura kind of going outside, and this is page 59 on my copy. She was drawn outside a side door to study again the impression marking the snowman's disappearance. But drifts created by the storm had erased the concave dish of ice. Nevertheless, she went down on her hands and knees, feeling for the spot, numbing her exposed fingers, freezing her damp hair, eventually giving up and staggering out of the dark back into the house to her bedroom. So the part I want to reference is freezing her damp hair. And I read this and I was like, how? Her damp hair frozen? Like, I guess, like, that makes sense to me, but, like, I just thought that passage was weird. And then, I swear to you this happened. Like, this is so coincidental, but I promise you it's a true story. And so, after I read that passage, maybe even, like, the day we landed, the first day that we were in the New England area, we were spending the night, our first night, in Portland, Maine. And, by the way, birthplace of Stephen King. Now, everyone knows about Bangor, and that is where like a lot of Stephen King stuff is. So we didn't get to see like Stephen King's house and stuff because it's like 2 hours away from Portland. But still, birthplace of King, pretty cool. But back to my story, we're in Maine. It's pretty cold. The temperature got down to 1 degree, and it felt like -9, as I just said a few seconds ago. And so as we were going out to eat for dinner that night in Portland, I never blow dry my hair like ever, and that doesn't change in the cold because honestly, I don't even know what to expect in the cold. So it's like whatever, my usual routine. Go out, my hair was still pretty damp, and I was hoping it would have dried more, but it didn't. So I'm walking outside, la la la, and then my hair starts to feel like weird, like I don't know, like it wasn't moving. It felt odd to me. And I feel it, and it was frozen. It was frozen. I could feel ice on it. And I told Paul, my boyfriend, I said, "Oh my God, Paul, I just read about this literally today. Like my hair is frozen like a character in a book I was reading. Literally, this happened today." I said, "Feel it, feel it." And he felt it. And he's like, "Oh my God, it is." And it defrosted like when we got in the restaurant. So it didn't last. And then my hair was dry enough to where it didn't do it the rest of the night. But literal like ice was on my hair. So that passage is accurate. I had no idea that your hair, if it's damp, of course it's going to freeze. That makes sense to probably you guys, especially you Northerners who are used to this and who are laughing at me right now. It is what it is. I had no idea. I just thought that was kind of cool. All right. Just looking and catching up with the chat real quick. Quick. Cameron says, "Gee, that makeout scene is steamy. Carrot cake. Mmm." Like, I don't want to taste carrot cake while kissing somebody. That's just me, though. If you guys want that, that's perfectly okay. All the more power to you. That's something I say a lot too. By the way, guys, I did say I might make some popcorn, like a slumber party type of snack, whatever you want to call it. However, I did not. I actually made some hot chocolate, and it still feels pretty, I guess, warmish. It's lukewarm. Let me see. It's still good. So I made some hot chocolate because I thought that was a good, sleepover, slumber parties kind of little treat. So that's what I did. All right. So, yes, we talked about some, freezing hair. We talked about carrot cake kisses, and now we talked about hot chocolate. So I think that's like a lot of fun things all mixed into the same chat. All right. So, guys, I want to hear more of your thoughts. We're kind of nearing the end. I do want to tell you about some fun things coming up with this book club very soon. Cameron said he wishes he would have made hot chocolate. Oh my God, it's so good, Cameron. Not only did I use the chocolate powder, like for the actual hot chocolate, I also added in some squeezes of Hershey's syrup chocolate. So I did it with both the chocolate powder, that's the actual hot chocolate powder, and then added some extra chocolatey syrup too to make it extra powerful and sugary because I'm a sugar fiend and I love sweets. So anything to do with that, I love that. All right, so let me just show you Grady Hendrix's review since I showed you Cameron's and Katie's, which I thought both of those reviews were marvelous. Let's take a look. I'm going to get to the slide real quick. Here it is. All right, so let's take a look at what he had to say. Grady Hendrix is a Pike fan. He talks about it a lot, and he reads old school YA books, and I love that about Grady Hendrix. If you guys are familiar, Grady Hendrix is a wonderful author. He also wrote, I would actually say co-wrote, Paperbacks from Hell. Will Erickson's the other guy who helped write it and research for it. I love Paperbacks from Hell. It's honestly what turned me into like a vintage horror lover and a vintage horror collector. I had really no idea that other authors existed because I really just got into reading a few years ago, and I knew about King and I knew about Coons and I knew about the bigger names, and I think Pike's a bigger name in terms of YA old school horror, but I didn't really know about him until I read Paperbacks from Hell and until I started to look up booktubers like Cameron and other people that I found as I started to discover what I like to read and kind of I progressed in my reading journey a little bit more. So Grady, I have a very big fondness for him because of Paperbacks from Hell, but I also love his fiction books as well. Great stuff. All right, so Grady rated Slumber Party a 2-star out of 5, and he says Pike's first book, and there is little to make it stand out except for how thrillingly awful these teenagers are to their best friend, who is horribly scarred in a fire, which makes it an extremely realistic depiction of teenagers. So as I referenced, yes, there is his signature wit, and so Grady. Cameron says Grady is the bomb diggity. I totally agree. I love Grady. Just such a knowledgeable person on horror overall, and very very creative mind. I love his books. There hasn't been a book of his that I haven't liked. I know people aren't all in agreement on the Final Girl support group. I personally did enjoy it. I love slasher movies, and so to me, it had like a slashery type of vibe, so I liked that book. But not everybody did. All right. Am I a water person or a milk person for my hot chocolate? I use milk whenever I can. The other day I made it, like 2 weeks ago, I made hot chocolate was the last time, and I didn't have milk, and I was upset. I was like, "I have to freaking use water," because the water to me, it just is so much thinner. Like, you can, at least in my opinion, you could taste the difference. So yes, hot chocolate with milk, and then I go all out, and I used to even do more stuff when I had, the packets with the fake marshmallows. I would do more than just add in the chocolate syrup. I had like a whole routine that I used to do where I might have even added in like a splash of Ovaltine, which is weird, but I might have done that. Like back at my parents' house, I used to make hot chocolate with like their packets, and I did it like a different way as well. All very intricate, apparently. I don't know why I'm so into making hot chocolate, but it's a great, great treat right now. I will tell you that. This is a Twin Peaks mug, by the way, if you guys like the show Twin Peaks. I love that show. All right, real marshmallows are definitely better than the fake marshmallows, but my parents always got the packs with the fake marshmallows. So, and I do feel like it reminds me of a slumber party. By the way, guys, if you ever had slumber parties as a kid growing up or even a teenager, what kind of snacks did you enjoy for your slumber parties that you participated in or hosted at your own house? I know some of the snacks that I enjoyed as I got older were more sugary even than when I was a kid. So, when I had sleepovers in high school, with like some of my friends from class and stuff. I know that in particular, I don't know who came up with this, but we would get a jar of icing, like cake icing from the supermarket, like Betty Crocker or whatever, like vanilla icing, and or even funfetti. And we would take a package of Rolos, the candies Rolos, and we would dunk the Rolos into the icing and eat them. And hell yeah, if you haven't tried it, try it. It's incredible. It's freaking incredible. Kelly says she would always eat pizza at slumber parties. Classic slumber party snack, of course. That is like a staple of slumber parties. Pizza for sure. But yes, I love the Rolos and icing. I don't know how we came up with that, but another thing is, and this is so New Orleans, so I'm sure you guys will be like, "What? This is weird." Every single slumber party ever, when I was a little kid, and I'm talking about 6 all the way to God, I was a teenager. Almost every slumber party ever, my mom for our morning breakfast would make beignets, homemade beignets. So you guys who are familiar with New Orleans and um, what they say about the city, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, beignets, I've heard of it." So a lot of people call them like little breakfast donuts. They are kind of like donuts, but they're airier. Um, they fry up really quick. The dough is thinner. And yeah, I do think it's a very special thing. If you do ever come to New Orleans, you got to try some. Of course, there's Cafe Du Monde, but there's another place that makes them as well. And I like Cafe Du Monde the best. But so my mom would get this mix, and you could buy it like at a grocery store. It's Cafe Du Monde beignet mix. So my mom would get the mix. She would make the dough at home, and she would fry them up in her like uh, skillet, not skillet. What's the other, like the deeper skillet called? I just got one for my Christmas present. I can't remember what it's called. Like that can go in the oven. It's a pan you fry in, like a skillet but deeper. Anyway, she would fry them in there, and they were so good. And what we would do is basically pour a whole package of powdered sugar into a brown paper bag. You pour the sugar all in. The reason it goes in the bag because then you put the fresh beignets that were just taken out of the fryer into the bag. You roll up the bag and you shake, shake, shake. So she would let us shake it. Then you pour all that's left over. We're talking about tons of sugar left over, mountains of sugar, powdered sugar, in a bowl. And you just dunk, dunk. I mean, they're already covered by that time after you shake it and put it in the bowl. But if you want extra sugar, you just dunk it into the bowl and you grab some more on top of your beignet. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Makes me want to make some actually, or just go to Cafe Du Monde this weekend, perhaps. Cameron said what he would eat is an entire package of Oreos. You can't go wrong with Oreos as a slumber party snack. Very good pick there. And I love Dunkin' in milk. Who here likes Dunkin' in milk, or do you prefer dry, guys, in terms of Oreo preference? Katie says, we used to make popcorn and mix it with pretzels and potato chips like a giant salty snack mix. Ooh, that sounds delicious. Jamie is on the same wavelength as Kelly and says pizza. Really cool. I love hearing about snacks. What is with me and food? I don't know. I don't know. Let me just make sure that I didn't miss any of my notes. Like I said, I do want to say if you have not read Pike and this was your first experience, I feel bad because I had a feeling this wouldn't measure up to Monster. I would suggest any of his other books, but I have experience with Monster, and I would say so if you just read this and that's all you know of Pike, maybe next you should try Monster or, research a little bit because he seems to have a really great library of books, and I think you can't go wrong with any of his other titles. So give him another chance if you weren't too wowed by this one. Please don't give up on Pike, because I hope that's nobody has a sour taste in their mouth because of this. Again, it didn't really bother me. A solid 3.5. Fun, just fun, kind of breezy, easy. But in comparison to Monster, yes, a letdown. And that's what Katie said. When you compare it to something you love so much, it's hard not to be a little disappointed. I like this comment about Oreos. You have to have milk with Oreos so that you can tell yourself at least you're getting some nutrients, I guess. To me, all I think about when I have the milk is like, no, I'm getting even more calories now, but I do dunk. I can't help it. Cameron says, I always recommend starting with Whisper of Death or The Midnight Club. Those are two that are super high up on my priority list. Like, I know I said already The Midnight Club was high up there, but Whisper of Death, I've heard great things about too. Thank you, Cameron. He would be the person to ask. But yes, just give him another chance if you only have read Slumber Party thus far. All right. I do want to tell you guys, like I said, the exact date and time of my chat with Kat. So again, we're discussing the Stephen King book Misery this weekend coming up, and I'm pretty pumped about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've already read the book. I've already finished it. It was a lot of fun, and I'm going to rewatch the movie either right after the stream or maybe tomorrow night. So I'm going to rewatch the movie very, very shortly, and so that should be a lot of fun. It's been just a year or two. I'm pretty familiar with the movie. I don't really need a refresher by chance or anything. All right, so again, if you guys have already read Misery and have already seen the movie, then please join us if you'd like to and if you're free for this stream, which will be happening this weekend, Sunday, January 23rd at 2 p.m. Central Time. Again, we'll be spoiling both the book and the movie. So if you don't want anything spoiled, make sure that you've read the book, I should say, and seen the movie. All right. I also want to say that this is not the only book club read for the Midnight Book Society this month. We actually had a second book that I decided to do a live stream for because it got almost as much votes as Slumber Party. And that would be, let me grab the book here for you guys. Whoa. Stolen Tongues. Things are falling left and right. Stolen Tongues, which I really enjoyed. I've got a lot of thoughts on this. I know there's some controversy around parts of the book in terms of like depictions of certain groups of society, like was it a good idea or not? So we're going to talk about this at the end of January. In fact, it's at nearly the very, very end. And so here is what I'm going to show you. Is going to be discussed live on Sunday, January 30th at 2 p.m. Central Time. So I kind of keep consistent. Both Misery and Stolen Tongue streams are on Sunday, and both are at 2 p.m. Central Time. So one's just this Sunday coming up, and the next one is next Sunday. So yeah, if you guys are interested, please join us for Stolen Tongues if you've already read it. Let's break this sucker down. And I gotta say, I feel like Slumber Party is a little bit of a simple book in comparison to Stolen Tongues. We'll probably have a more in-depth discussion for Stolen Tongues. It is a adult novel, and there are some really creepy and scary things in it, so I can't wait to break that down with you guys, with anyone who wants to join. All right, so that's some stuff on the horizon. More stuff for the book club. Now, we are going to be voting very soon. I mean, technically the vote is up now on our February group read. And I'm really excited because the theme of the whole month is carnivals, clowns, freak shows, fun houses, fairs, theme parks, amusement parks. I know somebody was wanting to participate in this readathon with me because it's not only a book club theme, I'm doing an entire readathon for the month of February with that circusy, clown, carnival, amusement park type of theme. And so if you guys want to join in, it's a readathon with no prompts. It's essentially just read as many books as you want to that fit any of those themes or, backdrops. I feel like carnival types of settings are great backdrops for horror stories. So I'm really excited about this readathon. And I actually already read a book this month that kind of had a freak show carnival type vibe that I really enjoyed. It was called the Mud Ballad, and it was so wild and crazy and strange and very short. It was a novella and very easy to read. Cameron says carnivals are his favorite thing on the planet. I know. I'm really excited about this readathon. But again, so my book club pick for next month is going to also have to do with that same thing. So not only is it that readathon that I'm doing, but we're also trying to do our book club read together, fitting that theme as well. Brian's horror corner is here, and it'd be great if I could speak today. He says, "Hi, I just got into reading horror books. Hey, welcome. So glad you're into reading horror. It's so much fun, and it's a great, great, great inclusive booktube environment, at least in my experience. When you talk about reading horror books, I feel like the YouTube community has been amazing and stellar and welcoming and just really, really fun to talk with. And so I love that. And I really have just enjoyed talking with all of you guys. I mean, everyone has been so positive. So it's just been a great, great thing and experience for me personally. I couldn't be more happy that I stumbled into the fact that I love horror books and not just horror movies, which I've loved my whole life. Books was a new discovery, and just finding this whole community has been like truly a dream come true because it feels like I found my people. Truly. All right, so let me just show you the books that, if you want to vote right now, there is a poll up on my community tab. So if you want your voice heard for what book we will read as a group next month for February, please make sure to go to my community tab on my channel page and vote right after this is over. So let me show you the books that are up for nomination right now. But again, I'll be reading more than these books for my readathon. And so if anyone who wants to do buddy reads, I'm going to put up a graphic of all the books that I'm going to try to read. And if anyone wants to buddy read any of those, no matter what wins or doesn't win, let me know if you want to do additional reads with me as a buddy. All right, but let's take a look at what's up for vote officially. All right, so the poll is up, as I said, on the community tab right now as we speak. The books that are up for nomination are House of Illusions by Ruby Jean Jensen. Ruby Jean Jensen is an old school horror author. She's a cute little oldie. If you look at her picture on the back of her books, she has since passed away, but oh my God, I love her. I love her. I read one book by her and it was a lot of fun. It's not winning in the poll. I have a feeling it will not win. The two books that are actually in the lead, I'll shout them out as I go. So Funland by Richard Layman is also a choice up on the poll right now. And I love Richard Layman as of the only book I read. I really like his style. But it's not for everybody. I will say there's tons of triggers in his books. So if you're a little worried, I would look up trigger warnings. But I don't think Funland's going to win either. It's in third place currently in the poll. All right. So another book that is up for nomination is Taste Like Candy by Ivy Tholen. And that one is currently in the lead with 31% of the vote. 32 votes total have been cast so far. Then we've got Fantastic Land by Mike Bakoven or Bakoven. I don't even know. You guys know I can't pronounce. Why am I even explaining that I can't by now? That one's definitely not going to win as it's in last place, unfortunately. Then finally, the last choice that you could vote for is Twilight Eyes by Dean Koontz. And I've heard good things about Twilight Eyes. So I've read one Dean Koontz book. It was one of his early works called The Mask, and I didn't particularly like it, but I've been assured that Twilight Eyes is much better. And that is actually in second place right now. So the top three candidates that will likely win are either one of the three it's either going to be Taste Like Candy, Twilight Eyes, or Funland. And I think I'm going to put up a second poll in a day or two and just put these three up there because there's just so much spread throughout the votes that I feel like it's not fair. If somebody voted for one of the two that are definitely not going to win, I feel like they should be able to vote out of the other three that are more in the lead. So I'm going to put up a more kind of concentrated type of poll soon. Marcy's here! Marcy! She says, hi, just came off my live, so I ran over here. Oh, thank you, Marcy. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. We're going to talk a little bit more about Slumber Party before I sign off, but I'm just telling people to make sure they vote if they want to participate in February's group read for our book club. These are the books that are up for vote right now on my community tab. And don't fear, though, guys. If you guys are sad that, House of Illusions isn't winning, or Fantastic Land isn't winning, or Funland probably won't win, have no fear, because here I'm going to show you the flippin' books that I am going to try to read. And if you want to buddy read with me, please just let me know. All right, so I definitely want to try to read House of Illusions, which I already shouted out. Funland was on that poll, which I also am definitely going to read no matter what. Fantastic Land, I'd love to get to no matter what. And the ones that were not a part of the poll that I'd still like to get to: Dreamwoods by Patrick Lacey, Freezer Burn by Joe R. Lansdale, The Troop by Robert Jackson Bennett, Clowns vs. Spiders by Jeff Strand, which I think should be a lot of fun, Clown Flesh by Tim Curran, which I've heard it's like 30 Days of Night, but with clowns. Sign me up. Hell yeah. Sign me up as of yesterday. And yes, oh gosh, this is a great point right here. Kelly, and I believe Cameron just seconded this. House of Illusions is only $3 right now on Amazon. It's like 350, I believe, Kelly. I just ordered my copy yesterday. Yes, and some of these pics are actually also on Kindle Unlimited. Like, for instance, I know it's not on my graphic right here, but Taste Like Candy is on Kindle Unlimited. So just, make sure that you guys check everything before you go out and buy a book, because, you might find a better deal somewhere. You might find it at the library. And finally, I also want to read Geek Love. That's probably the one that I might not get to, but I've heard great things. Geek Love is by Catherine Dunn, and I heard it's wild. Lots of people gave it 5 stars. So yeah. Sorry, I'm like choking on my hot chocolate. All right. All right, guys. So that was it for my promotion. I'm sorry. I have to do it sometimes. I hate promoting, but I have to. And I just had to get it out the way. So, Slumber Party, just to recap, since you're joining us late, Marcy, most people kind of gave it the same rating. We kind of all gave it around 3 to, I gave it a 3.5, rounded down to 3. A lot of people around the 2.5, 2 to 3 range. Not many 4s and above, that's for sure. Again, if you haven't read Christopher Pike, I'm going to reiterate this because I think it's really important. I don't want people to give up on Pike. I do think his other books are going to be a lot more to your liking if you didn't like Slumber Party. So stick with Pike. Don't give up. Don't give up and throw him away, because he's obviously awesome, at least from what I've experienced with Monster. And even with Slumber Party, it's really not that bad. If you could just kind of get yourself in the mindset of like a crappy behaved teenager, then you can enjoy it, because yes, I actually had fun hating on Rachel and the characters Mindy and Rachel. I feel like they were just so mean, you just love to hate them. In fact, if they were nice, it wouldn't have been as entertaining in a way in some areas. But yes, it was a little unbelievable that, that they were all still friends. However, I think the explanation for the girls still being friends despite being a little snarky is that they had this shared terrible experience. I don't know if you guys liked, basically the reveal of who ended up being alive, but they thought was dead. I didn't know if you guys enjoyed that, but I did. Cameron says, hashtag stick with Pike. Yes, that's going to be a thing now. Hashtag stick with Pike. All right. Sorry for the spam. Blocking the user. All right. So 6 stars for Geek Love, says Macabre Goblin. Heck yeah! Oh, that's great news. So you've read it, Macabre Goblin. That's great. Marcy says she wants to buddy read all of them with me. Please, Marcy. I know you're doing that thematic vlog. I totally cannot wait for your vlog. I'm so pumped up. I would love it if you wanted to do any kind of buddy reads. I mean, I'm on Instagram. I know we could message there if you want, but no pressure. I know you are such an avid reader. You're probably so booked up. No pun intended. Or maybe it is a pun intended. Whatever. Haha. It's so stupid. I'm dumb. Please excuse me. Ashley's here. Hey, Ashley. Oh my God, one of my favorite people is here. Ashley says, all those reads look great. Yes, I'm really excited about the February, thematic readathon. I just can't wait. I'm so pumped up about it that I'm trying to get my own book club to vote for a carnival themed book. My private book club, not my public one that we're doing right now. But again, I feel a little bad because I usually let people have suggestions and nominations in my private book club. But this time I'm like, I want to have a theme, and I'm kind of being a dictator. But I don't mean to be that way. But they seem to be cool with it. They never really recommend anything anyway, except for my friend Rachel and my friend Kat. Otherwise, no one else ever recommends anything but us. And my friend Steph, too. Jamie says, I really want to read Dolores Claiborne. I've seen the movie with Kathy, and she's phenomenal in that one too. Yes, that is a great point, Jamie. I want to highlight your comment here right now. I have not read Dolores Claiborne, the book, but the movie, I have seen it. It's been years, but it's incredible. I remember loving it. And it's so fun to see how many actors who are in one Stephen King adaptation end up being in multiple Stephen King adaptations. Let's talk about Kathy Bates for a second. Obviously, she's in Misery, which I'm about to talk about on Sunday with my friend Kat. So she's in Misery, the movie. She's in Dolores Claiborne, but she's also in a very small role in one of the adaptations of The Stand. I believe it's the 1996 version of The Stand that she's in. She just plays a very quick role. She's like a character that's in a radio station, kind of talking about how the virus has been released by the government and it's been developed by the government. And so these people come in and try to shoot her down and try to stop her from talking about the virus. And so I thought that was pretty cool that she just made like a cameo because she's kind of known for doing King stuff. And there she was in the little TV adaptation of The Stand. I liked that a lot. The Stand is not my favorite King book, but it's up there. My favorite King book would have to be The Shining that I've read so far. Rachel's here in the chat. My friend Rachel, who's also in my book club, she actually does suggest some things. So yay, Rachel. So Rachel actually, by the way, she gave Slumber Party a 1-star. I'm sorry to shout out your rating, Rachel, but I looked at your Goodreads earlier and I saw you rated it a 1-star. And I know you were probably expecting more, but yes. Again, don't give up on Pike. Stick with Pike. # stick with Pike. Give him another chance if you haven't read anything else by him. Jamie says probably won't get into Stolen Tongues, which I'm talking about next Sunday. That's okay, Jamie. Don't worry about it. Stolen Tongues, I do recommend it. I think it was one of the few books, and this is not spoiling anything if you haven't read it at all, and if you don't plan on reading it, it doesn't matter. Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell, which is what I'll be talking about on the 30th of January at 2 p.m. Central. I thought it was one of the few books that actually seriously creeped me out in terms of imagery. It had a lot to do with sleep imagery and sleep paralysis and dreams, like creepy dreams and talking in your sleep. That really freaked me out, to be honest. Like hardcore freaked me out. And so, yeah, if you want to be freaked out, I think this did the job. I really do. Now, I will say my one criticism is parts got repetitive, but I was still entertained personally, but it could bother some people. Rachel says, I know it was his first book, so I have hope. Yes, you should have hope because I know for sure that there are better Pike books out there. I don't actually. So Grady Hendrix in his review said it was his first one, but Cameron, do you know if it was really? I should have looked this up. Do you know if Slumber Party was really his first book or not? I know that Grady said it was, but I don't know if he was absolutely correct. Cameron says sleep paralysis freaks me out. Yes, it is such a very scary real life thing, and that's what makes it so terrifying. And like, just using like something that actually exists in this book, I think made it even more terrifying. And so to me, like parts of this just rang like true to me in terms of like the freaky factor, I guess you could say. Yeah, it creeped me the hell out. Some parts, especially because, okay, so there's these parts, and this isn't spoilers either. Somebody's talking in their sleep saying crazy shit that would freak me out in real life. The reason that freaks me out when I'm reading, because my boyfriend Paul has actually talked in his sleep before, and it's freaked me out, like in real life. So like I'm just sitting there, laying there, and I hear something like, haha, yeah. Like it sounds like he's awake and talking like normal, but he's talking in his sleep. And so I say, what? Like I like wake up and just say what really loud because it's freaking me out. I don't want it to continue. And he kind of is like, what? Like, did I say something? And I was like, yeah, you freaking talk in your sleep, bitch. Like, you're scaring me. I know I call him bitch a lot if you guys have been watching my videos. I referenced and said bitch the other day when I was talking about him. I'm not like mean like that in person. It's like a term of endearment. Heidi's here. Oh my God, one of my favorite people. Heidi says, I'm 152 pages in and I had to take a break because I couldn't sleep. And she's talking about and referring to Stolen Tongues. Yes, there are parts that are just creepy. And the prologue, I gotta say the prologue might be the very best part of the book. The prologue hits you right away with like a bang right off the bat. It's so good. It's so good. By the way, Heidi, hi. I'm wearing your shirt you gave me. I'm wearing as pajamas, but anyone joining late, I'm in pajamas because it's a slumber party discussion and we're like pretending it's a slumber party. So yes, thank you for my shirt. I'm wearing it now and I love it. Yay. I love the 90s. So I really appreciate you, Heidi. How you doing? Hope you're feeling a little better. Oh my God, Katie. She says, my husband sleep talks all the time and occasionally sleepwalks. So this book hits home and is so freaky. Oh my God, Katie. Yes, I can relate to you because so my boyfriend doesn't sleepwalk or anything, but just the talking, and it's very rare that he does this. Like very, very rare. But the few times it has happened, it's freaked me out. Like, please stop talking in your sleep. You're not awake. I don't want to have this discussion with you. Yada yada. It's terrible. All right. Yes, I actually used to sleepwalk, and I think it even references in the book that people do often sleepwalk as children, but then they lose it as they get older. And so I actually did sleepwalk as a kid. I this is so sleep stuff freaks me out for a multitude of reasons, but another reason is as a kid I was so scared to go to sleep in my own room, in my own bed by myself. I'm an only child, and so it just at night I used to get freaked out. I had a string of time where I would go to bed with the TV on, but the volume had to be all the way down, and I had to stack a bunch of pillows to block the direct light. Just the idea of it being on and like the kind of surrounding light after it was blocked off mostly, that is what kind of helped. Like, wouldn't a nightlight have done just fine? Apparently, but I wanted the TV, but no sound. It just really didn't make sense, and not even to be able to see the picture. It really makes no sense. But so I did that for a while, trying to like help sleep. We're talking about when I was pretty young, like from the age of 4 to 5. I didn't like sleeping in my own bed, so I would routinely get up and try to go into my mom and dad's bed, and so to sleep with them for like comfort and company. And so obviously they would want to lock me out sometimes. So I would go, I'd find myself not even knowing how I got to their door, but I'd wake up at their door like trying to turn the knob and it was locked. Imagine being them and like you hear the doorknob shifting in the night and like they're asleep by that point in the middle of the night and they're like, what the hell? Oh yeah, it's our kid being annoying, trying to come in our room for like the billionth night in a row. They used to joke that I would still sleep in their room till I was like 12 or 13. The night I watched The Exorcist, I was at a sleepover at a slumber party, and I was so freaked out. And I was freaked out for the rest of the week that I did sleep in their room, and I was older. I was like 14 or 15, and I slept in their room. I'm not ashamed to say The Exorcist movie really freaked me out, and I have read the book since then. I love the book so much. I really kind of equally like the book and movie quite a bit. Both really, really amazing things to check out. If you haven't either seen the movie or read the book, I would advise doing whichever one you haven't done. It's so good. But yes, the night I watched it at the slumber party, my friends were not paying attention to The Exorcist. They were like, la 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 la. We're supposed to be watching this movie, but we're goofing off. And yet I'm sitting there like transfixed by this movie, really paying attention to every detail, to frickin' the vomit, to the frickin' crucifix scene that like messed me up forever. To spinning heads and all this shit. Like, I know we laugh at it now saying, oh, it's not realistic, but it still freaks me out, even if you might complain or you can criticize that some of the effects aren't the best, but I personally think it's still effective, no matter what you might think of how it holds up or whatever. I still personally like it. So anyway, that night we're all going to sleep. Well, first I had to go to the bathroom, like normal bathroom, like whatever. Anyway, like it would only take me 2 seconds to go in there, but I was scared. And so I was like, guys, I don't want to go to the bathroom by myself. Like, can you just come with me and like hide behind the shower curtain so I can go? You don't see me, and then we can go back out. So they did. My two friends went behind the shower curtain. I was going to the bathroom. And sorry to be TMI, but I think this is a funny story. So then we all went back into the bedroom. We stayed up till like 3 a.m., whatever. Time to go to bed. I have never slept so close to people in my life. I was like sandwiched behind my friend Juju. That was my nickname for her. I was like sleeping like this, like this fist is her and like the cheek is me. I was like, ah! And I was shaking. I was so scared. And like I said, the rest of the week I wanted to sleep with my mom and dad. I'm not ashamed. It's all a true story. It really freaked me out. So sometimes, I just I had trouble sleeping, and it lasted for like a long time as a kid, even to when I was older, mostly because of movies when I was older-ish. I haven't slept in my mom and dad's bed in a long time, so don't judge me too harshly. But, as a preteen or kid, I did. Because I was scared. Sleep stuff freaks me out. Being alone at night in the dark freaks me out. All that stuff, it's like, it gets to me. And that's why Stolen Tongues is going to be fascinating to talk about with everyone, with whoever wants to join the live discussion in about a week and a few days. It'll be a lot of fun. I do recommend it. Again, there is some controversy around it, which we'll try to touch on, but it's hard to know how to react about that, and I can't really get into detail about it here, but I will in the discussion, which will have spoilers. Someone asked, "Have I ever seen Dreamscape?" No, I have not seen. It's a great scary dream movie. I have not seen it, but now I want to, just because it would match with the theme. Speaking of movies, so I'm about to watch Misery, as I told you guys, either later tonight or tomorrow. But the funny thing is, I think Misery might be my first movie of 2022. It is January 20th as I record this now and stream live, and I have not watched a movie yet. And this is so unlike me. I've been obsessed with BookTube. I've been watching BookTube so much. That's one thing I've been doing. Also, 60 Minutes randomly, and some hockey, but mostly BookTube. Like when I have time to watch something, I've been going to BookTube lately. Cameron, you're a part of that. Marcy, if you're still here, I've been watching a ton of your channel too, like a ton. So I've been kind of distracting myself with that. But it's so unlike me as a movie buff. I liked movies long before I liked books, just because my dad was a movie buff and he got me into movies and stuff. And so I have watched them all my life, almost kind of obsessively in a way, because I would watch some movies that I really loved over and over again, sometimes back to back. Like, for instance, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I did that with. I did that with the Beatles movie, A Hard Day's Night. I used to love that movie. Also, the movie Help, which is another Beatles movie. I was a big fan of the Beatles. I still am. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. And so, yeah, I love movies, is the point. I watch them over and over. Lord of the Rings, as a teenager, I would watch on repeat. I'd be like, yeah, Lord of the Rings. So it's so weird that like almost a month has gone by into 2022 and I have yet to watch an actual movie. How could this be? But anyway, if you guys are going to watch Misery and you've already read it, I can't wait to talk about the movie versus the book and to see how they compare and contrast. That's going to be so much fun. There's a lot to talk about with Misery, book versus movie. Tons to talk about. Oh, good. I'm not alone. Okay, Colton. Hey, Colton. Oh, my good friend Colton's here. I love Colton. He says, I still can't use the bathroom with a shower curtain closed thanks to that creepy chick in 13 Ghosts. Oh, my God. I'm glad I'm not alone and being creeped out by stuff. Thank you so much. Marcy says, no shame. I'm 40, and every time I watch a scary movie, I wake my husband up every time I need to use the bathroom, and he must accompany me. Oh my God, yes, I'm so glad I'm not alone. I'm not glad that you get scared, but I'm just glad to not be the only one who gets freaked out by things. It's been a long time since anything's freaked me out, but I gotta say, Stolen Tongues did it. And I'm including movies in that. So movies, I feel like, for some reason, I don't know, they haven't freaked me out very much recently. I can't think of the last one that did, that I really got spooked by. I'm trying to think. Heidi says, Marcy, that's a good hubby. I agree. That is a good hubby. You got a star hubby there. He sounds awesome. But yes, I got freaked out by Stolen Tongues hardcore. And like I said, I can't even think of a movie that did that to me recently at all. At all. I've thought of movies that made me laugh, that were supposed to be scary. I thought of movies that had like gross parts that I was like, ew, gross. But nothing that I was like really scared to go to bed after watching or something like that. So yeah, Richard Thomas says Dreamscape will. I kind of want to test this theory. Now I want to watch Dreamscape. So will Misery be my first movie? Or will Dreamscape? Will I end the stream and then go watch Dreamscape or Misery? We'll see. I'll have to update you guys later in my future stream which one I ended up watching first, because I feel like it's special whatever is the first movie of the year. Did I say 2021? I meant 2022 if I did say 2021, which I knew I would do at one point this year. But yes, will be the first movie of 2022. I feel like it's a special title, whichever one gets watched first. So I'm kind of trying to be picky, and I've already seen Misery, so we'll see. Oh, yes, I've seen this movie, Cameron. The Spanish film Terrified scared the bejesus out of me. That is a scary movie, and I watched that about 3 or 4 years ago at most. Yes, Cameron, yes. I will say that was creepy. Also, I think VHS 2. There was one, oh god, about a cult. That was freaky for one. And there was one about this monster, or was that the cult one? I think that was the cult one. Anyway, there was a scary video part in one of the VHS movies. I think it was VHS 2. Ugh, I will say that freaked me out too. But I don't think I was scared to go to bed though. Richard says the pressure's on with me and how I feel about Dreamscape after I watch it. I pretty much like movies, Richard. Don't fret too much over it. My friend Kat, however, I love you, Kat, if you're watching after the fact. She's a little more harsh on movies, and she doesn't like the cheese factor as much as me. Like I like cheesy things, and she does not. I also like scary things, and she does like scary things. But I just feel like I'm more lenient on movies than she is. I kind of just go with the flow a little bit more. But yeah. Uh, she would be a hard critic, I think. So if it was her, watch out. But me, I pretty much like movies. I'm pretty cool with almost anything for the most part. For the most part, I mean, I kind of want to preface that. All right, so I just want to, as we wrap up. Oh, my friend's asking me if I'm watching this hockey game. No, I'm not watching the hockey game. She's saying crazy stuff's happening. We have the same favorite team, my friend and I. All right, so I'm about to wrap things up. I just want to tell you guys thank you so much, but also ask if you have any closing comments or thoughts that you want to shout out about Slumber Party before we close off the discussion. I want to make sure that everyone's voice and opinions are heard if they want them to be. I hope I didn't miss any comments. I was trying to keep up with them the whole time, and I just really loved interacting with you guys. That was almost even more fun than discussing the book, is just chatting with you all. So thank you so much for being here on a random Thursday night. It means so much to me. I really, really, truly appreciate it. Marcy says, now I need to watch the film Terrified. Heck yeah, Marcy. It's creepy. It's really well done. Oh, someone's shouting out The Fourth Kind. Yes. Macabre Goblin wants to know my favorite hockey team. It is the Boston Bruins. I am from the South. We don't have hockey around here. My boyfriend's favorite team was the Bruins. I actually thought I would like the Ducks because of the movie The Mighty Ducks. I'm a Disney kid from back when I was little. I love the movie The Mighty Ducks. So I thought, okay, when I'm getting into hockey, I want to be a Ducks fan because my boyfriend was really into hockey, so he introduced me to the sport. I thought I would adopt the Ducks. Nope. Nope. I started watching. I was in the room with him when he was watching the Bruins, and then I kind of fell in love with some players in the team, and it just got me invested. And so the Ducks are not my team. The Bruins are my team. So yeah, Heidi's the one who shouted out The Fourth Kind. And also Grave Encounters recently. She says she was terrified when she watched it. Yeah, Grave Encounters, I believe I've seen that one. That one is pretty creepy. Oh, and she shouts out The Ring. I love The Ring. As a kid, when I first saw The Ring in the theater, I was truly freaked out. And I do think The Ring is one of the best horror movies. And I've seen both the Japanese original version, Ring U, and I've seen the American adaptation as well. I like them both very much, but I do think that there's a atmosphere that surrounds the American version. Whereas The Grudge, I've seen both versions as well. The Grudge, I actually like the foreign version better than the American version. However, with The Ring, I just feel like, oh my God, The Ring movie is so good. The American version is like, oh, one point, it really freaks me out. I agree with you, Heidi. I really think it's one of the scariest movies ever. Like that videotape, VHS, oh, it freaks me out every time. That's something that still kind of gets to me. I remember the first time seeing the closet pull back and you see that girl's messed up face in The Ring. Oh, as a kid, that got me, or a teenager, whatever I was when it was released. I don't know. Uh-oh, Macabre Goblin's a Flyers fan. Actually, I went to Philly earlier this year and saw the Bruins play in Philly. So, oh, I was just in your state. If you live there, I'm guessing you do if you're a fan of the Flyers. And then Colton's a Maple Leafs fan. Oh, cool! It's great to see hockey fans. I never know any in person except my friend Nathan, and I only know him again, like you guys, like through online. He is one of my favorite people. He wrote this book called Pumpkin Cinema. Check out his book; it's great. By the way, speaking of books, in our chat right now, we've got flippin' BookTube royalty Cameron Chaney, who is the author of Autumn Crow, which was one of my favorite books of flippin' 2021 that I read last year. Incredible book. So he's also an amazing author. Got a shout out to my favorite authors there. And Cameron, speaking of Cameron, he also agrees he loves both versions of The Ring, but the atmosphere in the American remake is really great. Yeah, I agree. New Jersey. Okay, cool, Macabre Goblin. So that's close. But yeah, I went to Philly earlier to see the Flyers versus the Bruins, and that was fun. I would say, I said earlier this year, I mean in 2021. You guys know what I mean. It was like a couple of months ago, but to me it feels like it's this same year. Michael's Booin' Books is here. Oh, thank you, Michael, for showing up. I really appreciate you. He said, just catching the tail end of this. Creepiest movie I've seen in recent years was The Void. I had to turn it off upon first watch, but ended up rewatching and finish it later on. Oh my God, I've got to check this out. I got to take notes because I'm going to forget this. I mean, sometimes I rewatch my streams just to see things I should be better about, like things I should say better, which is a lot because I'm not a very good speaker. But I do kind of rewatch just to, be better, to get better. I think that's always important for a content creator to critique themselves and, think of ways to get better. But thank you, Michael. I'm writing that down as we speak. The Void. And also Dreamscape, since I got that one talked about. All right, I'm writing these down. This is going to be fun. All right, so I will say, once Michael made this suggestion of The Void, saying that it was a very scary movie that I actually had to turn off, much like Michael had to turn off The Void, I had to turn off the movie Opera, which of course is a Dario Argento film. And there's a scene where, oh God, I can hardly even talk about it. There are flipping needles taped to a piece of tape, stuck to a piece of tape. This is what I'm talking about, not being able to speak. And it's put on somebody's bottom eyelids. So if they blink, they will shred their eyes up. I had to turn it off. I turned it off right when when she couldn't blink, I blinked so much. And so the idea of not being able to blink or being conscious of blinking or not blinking, I started to get freaked out and I actually got a bit nauseous. And the other movie I turned off while watching was not a horror movie. It was a movie about, I don't know the name of it, but you guys might recognize it if I describe the plot. It was it's based on a true story about these two race car drivers, and I don't care about race car racing or anything, but this looked like a good drama. It was probably nominated as one of the best movies of whatever year I tried to watch it. So it's these two dueling guys, race car drivers, who always are kind of like neck and neck. They're the best of the best, and they're always trying to beat each other. Well, one of them gets in a crash and burns. And so one of the scenes, they put a tube down his throat so that he can breathe after being burned, which, by the way, we had a burn scene in Slumber Party. So this is kind of reminiscent of the book we're talking about right here today in this discussion. So yeah, in the movie, they show this scene about the tube, and I almost threw up right there. I got queasy. I actually got dizzy a little bit, which has happened a few times to me when I get when I get really, really freaked out. It has to go like beyond a normal level. It's like an extreme freak out feel type of situation. So I turned it off, and I've never watched the rest since. And it is not a horror movie, as you guys can guess. It's about flipping race car drivers. I don't know. Oh my gosh, Cameron says Opera is his favorite Argento movie, next to Tenebrae. I always say that wrong. I just watched that one recently. That one's great too. Yeah. So I've not finished Opera, I will admit, and I want to finish it, but like the needles freaked me out. But yeah, Opera, from what I saw up until the pins, was very atmospheric, very well done. That's a great favorite to have. I love Suspiria. I'm just partial to this Suspiria. Deep Red is great too. I know, Cameron, you've got a poster of Deep Red. I've got multiple posters of Suspiria, including one that you guys can barely see in frame. Oh, God, my finger. All right, there it is. Ugh, there. So you can't see it, but that's a Suspiria poster there. So yes, I really love that film. Yes, Ashley figured out the movie. Yes. Ford versus Ferrari, whatever. It's like the car, right? Ferrari. Yeah, I think that's it. I think. Pardon my drinking. I'm thirsty. I've been talking for an hour and a half. I appreciate you guys who have stuck with me this whole time. And those of you who are just joining, I still appreciate you too, of course. Cameron says Deep Red, and of course we're talking about films directed by Dario Argento. He's a master Italian director. Wonderful guy. Really an artistic eye. Beautiful films. If you haven't seen any of his movies, I highly recommend checking some out. He says Deep Red is so good. Of course, Suspiria too. Yeah, of course. Suspiria, the soundtrack is fire. And in fact, Paul likes to make fun of me. Whenever something's really good, like we're having a good dinner, I'll say, that was banging. He's like, who are you? Are you living in the 90s or 80s? I'm like, yes, that is my whole persona. Not on purpose, that's just me. I just say weird, old, nostalgic, strange things. And things that don't normally get said. So I just have a weird way of speaking. Different people have told me that, but I like it. It's fine. I'm okay with it. I've come to grips with it. I've made my peace with it, type of thing. But yes, I think Suspiria's soundtrack is banging. It really is. It might have been Ford versus Ferrari, but there might have been another one with like two guys' names in it. Actually, I thought you were right, but now I'm second guessing that that was it. Richard says, I'm older and ended up under the seat at the movies, age 8, original Journey to the Center of the Earth. Yeah, my dad actually loves Journey to the Center of the Earth. Very well done. There's nothing wrong with liking that. Oh, thank you, Macabre Goblin, for saying I'm not a bad speaker. I appreciate you. Cameron says he's always singing 90s cliches too. It's just like ingrained in my DNA. I don't know. It just that's why my channel is partially nostalgia themed. However, I have not been talking a lot of nostalgia, so I try to throw it in. And also, I know you guys are big book fans. If you're here joining me in a part of my book club, I really appreciate you guys sticking with me. But I appreciate you letting me talk movies every now and then, even if I just kind of sneak it in. And I also do these chats where I talk about movies with my friend Kat. I appreciate anybody who watches those because movies are such a big part of who I am, and I feel like it's just not me being true to me if I don't sometimes talk movies. So thanks for letting me do that even in this stream, even though we're here to talk about a book. But yeah, the cool thing is like something that freaked me out, like I said, the burn stuff, and there's burn stuff in here, which like I said, I thought that was well done and interesting, but the just one or two final thoughts on Slumber Party to circle back around real quick. So Nell, I'm sorry, my dog is dreaming. He is sleep talking. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's like weird noises. It's him sleeping and dreaming. He's going woo. It's just like him sleeping. I wonder what he's dreaming about. It's okay, Jax. Yeah, I have him in here in the room so he can chill and not be lonely. Because I'm home alone right now, so I didn't want him by himself in the living room. So anyway, to go back to the discussion point about Slumber Party, and hopefully his snoring isn't too distracting, his dreaming isn't too, distracting as well. But I think that Nell being so hateful and vindictive against her friends is really out of place. So the whole thing at the end is Nell is trying to get revenge, and she's even convinced her sister Celeste slash Nicole that, and again, this is major spoilers here, so I'm sorry. I'm hoping you are here because you have read the book and you're okay with spoilers, but Nell is just so frustrated and like she's convinced Celeste slash Nicole that flippin' these friends are to blame. They're the ones who did it on purpose. And that's just absurd to me, considering it's so obvious that Nell didn't like her own sister. And Nell is kind of almost like taking out her own guilt, perhaps, on her friends. I think that's really what is at the heart of Nell's actions, because how could she even believe in her heart that her friends are the ones to blame? It's obvious that Nell was kind of vindictive, the character Nell from Slumber Party. Of course, I'm referencing Nell. In the beginning, Laura's describing how she wasn't bothered that Nicole was going to join them for the slumber party, and she wasn't bothered that Nicole was tagging along. However, Nell was very upset that her sister was coming along. She was very mean about it, and Laura even said she almost wished that Nell was a little bit more like her little sister, Nicole. So I think right there you see how good of a character Laura is, for one, and two, you're already seeing kind of Laura not really like Nell, but it's almost like they're still friends with her because of everything that happened. It's almost like a tie that they can't break, a bond that they share, a very dark bond that they share, a common experience that nobody else in their lives would be able to relate to besides the other persons in the group. So yes, again, so the darkness was there under the surface in Slumber Party. However, to kind of reference back to Katie's wonderful review, my friend Katie, she had some great points about just like, the fluff was there and it just didn't feel like Pike to me in terms of I was coming to expect something else from Pike. And so that's why it was like it didn't match up to what I was expecting. And I think that makes sense, and that's why I gave it a 3.5 to 3. So, okay, guys, I'm going to close it out right now. I really appreciate you guys sticking in for the long haul. It really means a lot to me. If any of you are going to join in on Sunday for Misery, I can't wait to see you there. Again, please do not forget to go and vote. And then in about a day, I'm going to release another vote with just the top 3 choices, so that we could have more people be able to vote which they want out of fewer choices. That way it's kind of more fair. I feel like it would be a better vote if it's the top 3. All right, so the top 3 will be Taste Like Candy for February, or Funland, or Twilight Eyes. Those will be the 3 choices in the poll I'm going to release tomorrow. But still, if you want to vote now, feel free to vote on the poll that's up right now. But again, a new one will be up tomorrow. And then we should have our book club choice for February. I'm hoping by next Monday at the latest. And that way I can tell you guys what won, and we can start planning our TBRs for February. Again, anybody who wants to do Carnival, Clown, Funhouse, Amusement Park, Flippin' Buddy Reads, please let me know. I'm on Instagram at Super Kickin' It. You see right here on my key. I pointed the right direction. I'm very proud. At Super Kickin' It. It's spelled out with a G. So yes, I've got an old wrestling friend joining, Everything Pro Wrestling. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for joining. We're just closing out. Thanks to all of you who stuck with me. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Please consider hitting the like if you enjoyed this stream. Consider spreading the word if you like my content, because I'm trying to grow. That's my big goal in 2022, is grow my channel. So you guys, you were a really big part of that. It wouldn't even be possible without you guys. So appreciate you. I know I always come off as corny, but this is how I really feel, truly. I'm just a corny person. And as my friend Kat would attest, I like corny things because I think I am a corny person. So it is what it is. I really had a fun time discussing Slumber Party with you guys. Hopefully you'll like our next read even better. If this one didn't hit the mark for you, I'm hoping the next one will really deliver, but we'll have to wait and see. So until then, that's all I have for you guys. And you know what you can do till next time, right? My classic signature sign off. Keep on killing it. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all. Thank you for hanging the whole time, Cameron. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Macabre Goblin. So many people. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.